Coming up on All About Android, it's me, Jason Howell. We've got Ron Richards and Florence Ion, and we've got a story about Google payola. Yes, payola is still kind of a thing. Google's getting taken to task for it. App archiving has arrived, so hooray for that. Honor's affordable foldable Magic VS is pretty interesting. Samsung's unaffordable foldable made of Goldable, the W23 and W23 Flip. J.R. Raphael has a Clipboard syncing tip that's really cool. Plus your feedback and a whole lot more next on All About Android.
Podcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
This is All About Android, episode 606, recorded Tuesday, November 29th, 2022. Affordable, a foldable. This episode of All About Android is brought to you by Code Comments, an original podcast from Red Hat that lets you listen in on two experienced technologists as they describe their building process and what they've learned from their experiences. Search for Code Comments in your podcast player. And by Rocket Money, formerly known as Truebill. Are you wasting money on subscriptions? Cancel your unnecessary subscriptions right now at rocketmoney.com/Android. Seriously, it could save you hundreds per year. And by Secureworks. Are you ready for inevitable cyber threats? Secureworks detects evolving adversaries and defends against them with a combination of security analytics and threat intelligence directly from their own counter-threat unit. Visit secureworks.com/twit to get a free trial of Taegis extended detection and response, also referenced as XDR. Hello and welcome to All About Android, your weekly source for the latest news, hardware, and apps for the Android faithful. I'm Jason Howell.
And I am a very adult Ron Richards.
And I'm Florence Ion. I saw myself flash, and then I flashed away, and now I'm back.
Yeah, it was like
back.
Burke had regrets. He like showed you for a second, then it was like, actually, just a little bit more on Ron for some reason.
Hey, well, I mean, we're all used to that. Who can complain? No, but yes, no, I am a bit under the weather, but I could not miss Flo, you returning to the show, and a classic you, me, and Jason trio tonight. So it's fun. So,
that's right.
Yeah, when
be chill.
It's all about Android. It's all about Android Classic.
Kind of like classic Coke. We were talking a lot about the 80s in pre-show, as seems to happen a lot, actually. 80s and the 90s come up as topics in our pre-show discussion.
That's really what we know. That's what we know.
Yeah. If you are a Club Twit member, you'll get it in your post, as extra content. So,
and I will apologize in advance.
Yeah, but it's fun.
It's worth it. No, it's good. It's the fun times. We enjoy our childhood and revisit things like that. But hey, those were the years that got me into technology. So
that's
I can't
right. It's true.
While watching Twisted Sister videos on MTV, I was clacking away on my 1200 baud modem. So
Yep. I was taking apart my my beatbox or my boombox. I was trying to think, what did I call it back then? A boombox. I was taking apart. I remember disassembling the speakers from the boombox so that I could put the speakers out, because some boomboxes you could actually remove the speakers and widen the stereo, put it up on a table and put the speakers.
That's a bougie boombox.
And I figured out as a kid how to cut the boombox into pieces and take the speakers and move them, because it didn't actually do that. It totally worked.
Awesome.
I was like, nice. I figured that out. I made it work.
I took apart my 5 1/4 inch Apple II disk drive, and then couldn't get it back together.
Of course.
And then got in trouble. So.
Well, curiosity.
I just went at it with a screwdriver. It was.
What'd you do, Flo?
I was burning CDs while voting for NSYNC on TRL.
Okay,
you had to do at MTV.com.
Wow, we are so different generations. Yes.
Yeah, in the 2000s.
Yes. Burning CDs. That's a leap.
I mean, I could have mentioned the zip drives that I had my website backed up on, but
I can't even tell you. I have a box of zip disks. I have my zip drive, and I have my SCSI cable, and I self-published a magazine in college, and all the PageMaker files are all on those zip drives. And someday I'm going to figure out how to get them and dust them all off.
I don't know. You better do it soon.
Is there
I
a
don't know how
SCSI to
long that
USB?
stuff lasts.
Is there a SCSI to USB converter? There has to be, right?
I'm if Burke is making an sound, then that's not good.
Here we go. I just Googled SCSI to USB, and sure enough, there is SCSI USB available at Amazon.
Chances are that, well, go for it.
Burke's never mind. It's too much to explain this.
Oh, these are amazing.
You just go ahead and you try that, Ron.
I would gladly do a whole show, another podcast on just like serial and parallel cables.
All right,
so
you
cool.
do that. You do that podcast episode.
We're going to do a different show.
Yeah. But before we get into all of the news that has something to actually do with Android, I thought before we jumped in there, since we have you on, Flo, last week on the show, we talked about your Android. I think it was last week or the week before. We talked about your Android Auto article on Gizmodo. But you're here, and so you're experiencing it in real time. So instead of interpreting what we thought about your opinion from the article, I thought I'd ask you real quick before we jump into the news block. How's it going? Do you actually have it in your car now, and are you using it on a regular basis and all that?
I do have it in the Subaru. Obviously, my car does not have that system, so I'm just testing it on the Subaru right now. And I did get into the beta, but of course, I do have like a little bit of press privilege because I had worked with Google to get on that beta. But I do love it visually, but there's some elements about it that this is a beta.
Always a beta.
Well,
it's Google. It's always a beta.
It's just like, we were driving back from San Jose on Saturday night, and, I'm not from San Jose, so I needed the maps. And Google Maps it had like markers over the part where you're supposed to see the route. Oh. And you kind of want that like top down look around you to see like, which lane should I be in? Are there other like, is there a junction? You need the map. And so there's some like little things about it. But I think part of that issue is because of the way the Subaru kind of splits up the Android Auto part with the rest of the screen.
Oh, okay. Kind of the particular configuration of that size of display and what it's sharing it with.
Yeah. Right? And the thing is I don't imagine it's the same issue. Like the Honda Civic already has like a 7 or 8 inch display. So it fits perfectly fine. The Subaru has an 11-inch display. Only 7 inches of it are for Android Auto or CarPlay if you use that. And then the rest of it is for the in-car like controls, like the radio and the HVAC and all that. Because it doesn't use the whole screen, it just feels like a really choppy experience. And so ultimately it's up to the car manufacturers to kind of like get into gear with it, because otherwise everything just kind of feels squashed together. But also this is beta. Like I'm not supposed to have this, in my Subaru. So.
But you do.
But I do. And
you can only judge, based on what you actually have access to. So, I mean, nobody's surprised to know that like a beta, UI software, whatever is buggy and not perfect. However, at the same time, so much of what Google does, it feels beta, whether it's explicitly labeled beta or not. So, we could go down a negative road as far as that's concerned.
At least it matches Android 12/13, because there was always, and I actually said this, I said this to the Android Auto engineers when I went to go look at it. I was like, listen, these are two very different experiences for a long time. Like what you had on the phone was very different than what you were dealing with in the car as the operating system updated, and Android Auto did not. So at least now there's a cohesiveness, but if you go dig into Reddit, which I do dig into because I like to see what the people are saying, what they're chattering about, people still feel like Android Auto is just a very slow experience.
Still not quite there. Yeah.
Yeah.
This does look like an improvement, though. I really do. I mean, from the shots that you included and everything, it definitely looks like an improvement.
I have news, by the way.
Oh, okay.
Related to this for our audience specifically, which is that I got to ask, I was like, can you please just tell me what is the deal with you deprecating the phone app? Because I was relying on it. And basically what happened is that the code for the phone app just got given to the Google Maps team. And so now it's up to the Google Maps team to kind of implement that driving mode and make it a part of that experience.
Oh, okay.
So
kind of like what they were doing with the assistant drive, because they got rid of assistant driving mode.
Yes.
But if you're using Google Maps and you're playing media, then you get that little embedded player into the Maps experience, which I guess is that kind of what you're talking about? Or this would end up being a further built out experience?
No, that's what I mean. It's just the issue is that because it's not the auto team working on it anymore, it's a different look, it's a different situation, so it has to be reconfigured for a different type of user versus somebody who's just it's I was like, this is very confusing for people, and it leaves people in the dust.
Absolutely.
Because now I'm legitimately looking into getting an Android Auto display in my car. I'm like, it's going to be cheaper than buying a new car, and I need maps.
Yes, indeed. We all need maps. I know I need maps. I rely on them for sure.
I got to tell you, though, Google Maps is getting very noisy.
Yeah.
As an app. We're going to talk about it later, but I have thoughts.
A lot of other stuff in there. Yeah, that's true.
Yep.
It's true. All right. Well, thank you for that update. And why don't we do that right now? I hope you're ready, Burke. I hope you're ready, because I'm about to throw to you for the news bumper. Go now.
Well, I don't get paid millions to do this.
You don't?
I do get paid in Ron Richards' eye rolls.
He gets paid in Ron Richards' eye rolls.
I'd never eye roll. What are you talking about?
I know,
Silly Burke.
I've heard a few of them. Literally sounds like this. Flo, you got the first one.
Well, you know what I heard back in 2019 is I heard a lot of guff on the radio. I heard a lot of guff about how great the Pixel 4 apparently was.
Did you notice that out on the radio?
Oh, I did. So I'm of course alluding to the fact that Google's in big trouble for, I remember distinctly. Okay, let's get into the news so I can just do a whole narrative on this. So Google and iHeartMedia both got in trouble with the FTC. Google and iHeartMedia are both going to have to pay $9 million in penalties for a false advertising lawsuit. So basically what happened is that Google paid iHeartRadio to run a major ad campaign for the Pixel 4. And it had radio hosts read scripts where they talked firsthand about their love of the device. So they were doing I love my phone because it takes pictures in this capacity. Mm-hmm. But some of the DJs, as I call them, they did not receive the Pixel 4 in time to actually have a hands-on experience. So they were talking about having a favorite phone camera and studio-like photos, and they weren't really privy to what life was really like with the Pixel 4. So during the first round of ads, now, you might remember hearing this. You might not. This was 3 years ago, pre-pandemic, and a lot has happened to our brain since then. But I do remember these ads because I was in the car to the airport after the Pixel 4 event, and the Uber or Lyft driver was listening to the radio, and I remember wow, they already have radio ads out for this. You can actually go into the FTC filing and listen to the radio ads and see if it kind of kickstarts your memory, because those were presented as evidence of this is what happened. So if you're curious to see if your radio region made it on the list, that's something you can do tonight. Google did send out 5 devices during like the second round of advertising, but it was too late by then. There were 29,000 ads aired between 2019 and 2020 on the Pixel 4. And if the ads hadn't been first person, Google wouldn't be paying $9 million in fines.
Yeah, that really is kind of, at the end of the day, that's kind of the takeaway. It's kind of like if the ads themselves weren't filled with all of the first person, I mean, it's a total script. If they had taken away the first person elements of this and just said, this, well, I don't know. I don't write ad copy, but however you do that, all you got to do is remove the I statements from it.
You just go, this phone is great. It takes great pictures.
Okay,
this and that.
so here's the thing. Now, because I mentioned in the pre-show, I am a millennial, definitely was a teeny bopper, so I definitely listened to the radio. Mm-hmm. When you have an advertisement from like a really big top 5 radio station in an area, let's say as big as like the Bay Area or New York City, a radio market, I should say, like, a lot of the ads that I hear are first person. If a dealership is advertising on radio, the dealership will see the DJs with their own leases of the cars. And then, like, they were doing this at a station here in the Bay Area. I believe it was 99.7. But the DJs, they all got Mercedes from Mercedes in San Francisco, and they would talk about opening up their G-Wagon, with just waving their arm and all this stuff, because it gives this first person like, oh, well, if the cool DJ that I listen to every morning on the way to work, who's like a part of my life is, driving one of these things around, then like clearly this is something. So I can kind of see why they went for this kind of marketing. It's for the radio market.
It's no different than the testimonial ads that we do on our show,
absolutely,
that I do on other podcasts. Jason, remember, Blue Apron used to advertise on the podcast, and they sent us Blue Apron. Every product that we talk about, it's got to be one that you actually talk about that can have that authenticity, because it has that connection with the audience. But also, it's so easy to just say, "Oh, well, I'll make it up and not do it," and that's what crosses the line.
Yeah, well, and I can speak from personal, firsthand experience that there have been times in the past where I have had an ad to read that had I statements in it that I had not used the product. And so I, in that moment, changed the I statements so that they weren't there anymore, because I don't feel comfortable saying, I love this thing unless I've actually used it and I actually love it. And I mean, and the good thing about the ads that we get here at Twit is, our ad team does a really great job of making sure, like, I get emails from them saying, hey, we've got this sponsor, they're interested. Are you, is this something that you're even interested in talking about? And I'll look it up and I'll research it and be like, heck yeah, I want to try that out and try it for myself. So I think, by and large, if you hear Twit hosts talking about like, I love, about our sponsors, is because we have, for this very reason. Because if we didn't, the integrity of everything that we've built here is completely gone.
Exactly. And so it's good. So like, part of me is glad to hear that they're enforcing this, because in this influencer age and this like authenticity, first person kind of experience, it is so easy to just BS it. And so I'm glad that someone filed this and that they're actually enforcing it.
Right.
So. Yeah, I agree. I definitely think it is also because we live in an influencer culture that this is kind of under fire. I have noticed, like, the last couple of years, the attempts that Google has made to market this Pixel. They really want this to like take off in the cultural zeitgeist.
Sure. And why wouldn't they?
Of course, you're right. That's how you want the product to like flourish. That's how you want the Google brand out there. But it's just speaking to like the wobbly legs that Google has had on this, because the Pixel is still like a new hardware line, really. And the branding, like the hashtag Team Pixel, like the hashtag made by Google, I really want to see how far this stuff is taking off, because I'm having a hard time getting a gauge on it because I am in the bubble.
Yeah, it's hard to know inside the bubble.
I watch like I watch, major networks, and then I'll see like a Pixel commercial, and it's like, here's the Pixel 7. It's got like all of this machine learning. It can like delete people from photos, which is like, is that working?
No, what I think. I mean, like, it's really interesting because I don't know. Am I the only one watching the World Cup here amongst us?
I'm not watching it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not watching it.
They are advertising heavily during the World Cup. And I was in the bagel place this weekend getting bagels for my wife. And I'm holding my Pixel 7. And the guy at the bagel place is like, oh, you got that Google phone. Can it really erase people from pictures? And I turn and look, and he's got the World Cup game on in the store. And I was like, oh, he's seen the commercials, right? So I showed him the magic eraser. And he was just like, oh, my God, that's amazing. Oh, maybe I'll get it. And so, like, they're trying to reach people. Because of course you want to reach people. Like that's the whole nature of it. But to your point, Flo, it is hard being in that bubble. It's also hard to see what the impact is because I've yet to see a Pixel 7 anywhere else but my own phone out in the wild.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So
very rarely do I see it in the wild. And now that like I know what to look for on an iPhone, I see that stovetop and I'm like, oh, they have an iPhone. They have an iPhone. They have an iPhone. They have a Samsung. They have an iPhone.
Right.
There's a lot of iPhones.
But they're trying. But they're trying. Those deals are out there. You can get a one of my friends texted me about through Verizon. He could trade in his phone and get a Pixel 7 for like $20 or whatever it was.
Yeah. It was.
I know. I'm kicking myself in the butt.
It's expensive.
I should have waited.
They're doing everything they can to try to get it.
Okay. Can we stop right there? I should have waited. I swear. Every single year we say that. Every single year we say that same thing. Like, dang, like literally, like what has it been? A month or two? I should have waited. So just anyone watching, listening, just remember that. We always end up saying that because it's true. It always happens. Like a month or two after it's out, you get these crazy, ridiculous deals. So keep that in mind.
Crazy.
File that away. But,
file it away as well. You can also file it away with 0-day vulnerabilities because, and please excuse my voice. We'll see if I make it through the whole show. But so Google's Project Zero is its internal security analyst team that keeps tabs on all the 0-day vulnerabilities across all entities on the web. And they're actually now turning the eye of Sauron of 0-day vulnerabilities towards Android. The team is focusing on a few issues with ARM that were just reported between June and August this year. And ARM addressed the issues swiftly and published a fixed source code. But then Google didn't patch these issues for users. And so it impacted devices that include Pixels with Tensor chips and Samsung's Exynos. Also, MediaTek system on chips, which are all ARM-based. So that's a large pool of devices that were impacted. And Google actually told Engadget that, quote, the fix provided by ARM is currently undergoing testing for Android and Pixel devices and will be delivered in the coming weeks. Android OEM partners will be required to take the patch to comply with the future SPL requirements. And so Project Zero just wags their finger at Google saying, just as users are recommended to patch as quickly as they can once a release containing security updates is available, so the same applies to vendors and companies. So again, much like I'm glad to see the FTC enforcing the rules around ad reads, it's nice to see the Project Zero team enforcing their own rules amongst their own divisions of their own company. So Absolutely. You got to be, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, it's nice to see that. I don't know what more there is to say about it other than a group like this that is really kind of tasked with monitoring and kind of calling out when these insecurities exist out in the wild. It's nice to know that they aren't under in a pressurized environment where they can't also kind of apply a little bit of that resistance internally as well. Because they do a lot of really great discoveries. I produce Security Now behind the scenes, with Leo and Steve Gibson. Steve Gibson really produces the content of that show, but I'm producing behind the scenes, kind of watching and listening every week. And there are many, many times that, Google's Project Zero kind of comes into play as far as calling out other companies' vulnerabilities and the things that they could be doing better. Nice to see them doing that with their own company as well. So that's all I got on that one. We got lots to say when it's thumbs down, but when it's thumbs up,
it's like, so it is.
Okay, good. App archiving, we've talked about this in the past, and now this feature is appearing in the most recent version, from my understanding, of the Play Store app. So this is going to allow you to uninstall an app, but still keep the associated data, like the really important user data, on your device. Think of this as like a really great way if you've got limited storage on your device and you are a big time gamer, is I think the big kind of example of this. And a lot of these games can be very large, right? So if you got limited space on your device, you might not have all the space you want to play all of these larger games that occupy space on those devices. So you can actually uninstall a game to make room for another game, and your user data, your progress data within that game can stay loaded on the device so that when you reinstall it, you aren't starting from square one again. And it all, of course, it all depends on how that app has been designed or developed, as far as kind of like save states and progress and all that kind of stuff. But this is pretty great news for people with low to mid-tier devices, especially. A lot of those devices don't have nearly as much onboard storage by default. So this is a great way to kind of help out with that. Offload it when you don't need it, load it back on when you do, and all of that associated data sticks around. So
sounds a lot like the old Next Bit Robin.
I know it does.
Yep.
Oh
Turns
yeah. Oh my God.
Gotta say it every time. Pour one out for the Next Bit. For sure.
Turns out Next Bit was onto something just a little bit earlier.
Sure was. Now it's in a gaming phone. But.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. All right. Well, we've got a lot more show coming up, including some really great hardware news coming up next. But first, let's take a moment to thank the sponsor of this episode of All About Android. And that is Code Comments, which is an original podcast from Red Hat. We've had Red Hat on the show many times before with their other podcasts. They just do a really great job with their podcast content. When you're working on a project and you leave behind a small reminder in the code, if you're a developer, you probably know this really well. A code comment to help others learn from your work, right? Well, this podcast takes that idea by letting you listen in on two experienced technologists as they describe their building process. So you get to kind of see how the sausage is made. There's a lot of work required to bring a project from whiteboard to development. None of us can do it alone. The host, Burr Sutter, is a Red Hatter, lifelong developer advocate, and community organizer. And each episode, Burr actually sits down with experienced technologists from across the industry to trade stories and talk about what they've learned from their experiences. And it's just, if you're a developer, the insight is incredible. You're going to learn so much about how these ideas are translated. And if you're not a developer, it's really great insight into how this all works behind the scenes, right? Like, we're all fans of technology. I'm a fan of technology. I'm not a developer. But understanding how these mechanisms come together, how these different disparate groups come together to create something, I find that very fascinating. Episodes are available anywhere you listen to podcasts and at redhat.com/code comments podcast. And you can also, of course, search for Code Comments in your podcast player. We'll also include a link in our show notes. And our huge thanks to Code Comments for their support of All About Android. All right, with that, let's get into some hardware. All right. We've been waiting for the foldable market to get more affordable. More a-Foldable. No, sorry.
I like the direction you're going in. I like it.
I'm workshopping here.
A-Foldable.
I'm doing some dad joke
title.
workshopping.
Affordable, foldable.
I like it.
I like
foldable. Yeah, see, it doesn't kind of work because then it just becomes a foldable. And there's what's so funny about
foldable.
that?
It's an affordable.
Affordable. Okay, something. Anyways, we'll continue workshopping this in Slack. But what am I actually talking about? Sorry. Honor, or Honor, depending on how you want to pronounce it.
Blast from the past.
I enjoy pronouncing the H. Has a new foldable called the Honor Magic. I don't know if it's VS or Versus. It really actually could be both, because the V is the fold, Versus might be, the two different screens. I don't know, but it's the Honor Magic VS, capital V, lowercase s. So you interpret that however you want to. And this is really taking a page out of the book of the Z Fold. So not the Flip. It's the like candy bar phone that turns into a more tablet-sized device. It's got a 6.45 inch external display, 120 hertz refresh on that. The inner display, wow, it's so interesting. The inner display is really not that much bigger, 7.9 inch inner display, 90 hertz refresh on that. You got 5,000 milliamp hour battery, so pretty nice size battery, 66 watt wired charging. It does have the Snapdragon 8 Plus Gen 1, so not the latest Gen 2 processor that's just starting to trickle out. So maybe that's part of the reason why this is a lesser expensive device. 8 or 12 gigs of RAM, 256 or 512 gigs of storage. You've got the 3 cameras that you saw there on the back of the device, 54 megapixel main. It's got a 50 megapixel ultra wide and then an 8 megapixel 3x zoom. So you've got a little bit of that hardware zoom there. That's nice. So the price, more affordable, right? Starts at, and by the way, this is launching in China. We in other markets, we don't know where, we don't know when. It's starting in China. Converted, it comes out to around $1,050 US. So, that would be the price that here in the US you'd expect to see the Z Flip, right around $1,000. Here you've got the Fold design coming in at the cost of what we would pay for the Z Flip, which I think, which is a great direction. Honor, I've very early on in the Honor brand lifespan, I got to review one of at this point, I can't remember the model number of it, but it was a really well-designed device. It was all glass. I remember I ended up cracking the glass on the back, but still, it was a beautiful device.
Is that the Honor 8?
Maybe it was the Honor 8. I've got it back in my office in the catacombs of devices. I can't remember. Was it the Honor 8? When did that come out? Yeah. Anyways.
It came out in 2016.
Yeah, it might. You know what? I think it is the Honor 8. Yes, it's the Honor 8. That's it. Nice memory.
Well, I remember it was the year I got married, and also I went to the Cal Academy for that launch.
Yeah, and I mean, just a really, yes. Anyways, yes, that was a pretty device. Still, like, I'm looking at it right now, and yeah, it's a pretty device. So what do you think? $1,050 for a foldable? I don't know if that's what the price would be in other markets, if it would be similar to that, but that sounds like a pretty solid pricing placement for this type of device, in my opinion.
It's way better than what the Z Fold 4 is going for.
Yeah.
I understand the specifications of the Z Fold 4, though, are probably a little more than this.
Yes.
But the price point has been kind of the big issue for me with the foldables. At the same time, I don't know that I want to go back to life without it.
Yeah, because you've been really getting very, very pro fold, right? Which is the device that you have right now? I know I've seen you tweeting about it.
The Z Fold 4.
Okay, so the latest Z Fold.
Yes.
Yeah,
that's correct.
And you're really getting into it. Sounds like.
Yeah, I'm pretty. I recently told my editor that I feel like it's my phone of the year.
Oh wow!
Oh wow!
Yeah.
Bold.
Yeah. I didn't imagine that I would be this into it, but I
didn't see this. I didn't see this coming. This was not on my bingo card. This is I'm impressed.
And that's why I'm like, well, crap. Now I'm gonna have to like save money because I think I'm gonna actually want to buy one of these next year.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
that's why I just bought a Pixel 7 this year, because I really needed to upgrade to something. And so I think next year I'll finally have the camera system in the Fold that I really want.
I bet you Samsung will let you trade in your Pixel 7 and probably give you a reasonable trade-in value.
I'm kind of going to start planning my smartphone buying based on the trade-ins now. It just feels like that's the way to do it, and at least in that way, you can recycle the device.
Yeah, right. It's
some way
more responsible, and also the companies have been. I mean, as evidenced by this Black Friday season and Google's insane trade-in values for old Pixels to get the Pixel 7, as evidenced by Samsung, this is now the second year in a row that I've really noticed the insane value you get for previous Galaxy devices, and not even like new previous Galaxy devices. They give you insane trade-in value. They're offering more for these trade-ins than I feel like they used to even a couple of years ago. You know, a lot of these companies are doing really well with that. So that's a good strategy, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
It looked like you had a big thought coming out.
I know. I was waiting for it. I was like,
everyone, forgive us. I just wanted to give some runway space in case Ron wanted to comment. Nope. I've been talking.
Ron's like, I'm not going to talk very much tonight.
Okay.
I don't have much of a voice.
Well, is this a good time for me to segue into our
Heck
next
yeah.
news
Do
bit?
it. Go for it. Do it.
All right, so speaking of Samsung is actually bringing a luxury version of its foldables to China, which is very exciting. The W23 and W23 Flip. So I guess not the foldable versions that you were thinking of, but more luxurious versions of the one that goes small. The little clamshell.
Both of them. It's the Fold and the Flip, right?
Oh, sorry, the W20.
Yeah, because they completely changed the model numbers for some weird reason. Like, why call it a W23 anyways, it might mean something in China. But yeah, one of these is the Flip Redux, and one of these is the Fold Redux.
This is really hardcore, like luxury.
Yeah, they're special.
Wow. Okay. All right. So pricing, speaking of pricing, it converts to around $13.86 USD for the Flip. So you might note that's much more than what we're currently offering it in the US. And then hold your beans for this one, $22.17 for the Fold version.
You thought $1,700 was a lot for a Fold. How about $2,217?
I mean, look, it's gold.
I was gonna say it looks like melted gold on the front of it.
Yeah.
I was gonna say with the Honor Magic Versus or whatever, V's or whatever it is, like the biggest problem with foldables is the price point.
Yeah, right.
Is that they're not at that affordable level yet. And so it's nice to see the Honor Magic going in that direction. And meanwhile, Samsung just goes in the opposite direction. Goes.
Yeah.
Well, maybe there's maybe the Chinese market is, maybe they're using the Chinese market to sort of test out this idea, I would assume.
Yeah.
They also have a tiny bit like more RAM. They have 16 gigs of RAM, which is an upgrade from the 12 gigs in the regular Z Fold 4. So,
and 8 gigs in the Z Flip. So they almost got this has twice as much RAM as the Z Flip if you're getting
a little overkill for the Flip, but yeah.
Yeah, totally. Like, is it necessary? No, but at least you get it. If you're spending, $350 more for it. Ceramic back, so not glass, it's ceramic. So there's some upgrades. You can see the little what is it? The spine has that little textured quality to it.
A diamond pattern.
A diamond pattern. Not actually encrusted with diamonds. Yeah.
It's very McBling era. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, totally. What was that? What was that Android brand that always came out with the crazy, ridiculously expensive and usually covered in gold plating?
It's like some gangster.
Vertu.
That's what it was. Vertu with the Macadile, right? Where's Mateo when we need him?
Mateo when we need him, exactly.
And for those who are keeping score, that's the second time Flo's mentioned McBling in this evening. So
wow.
I know. Yeah. I've been watching a lot of,
It's a
TikTok.
McThing. Oh, so luxury version. That this is so like on one hand you've got the cheap, on the other hand you've got the ridiculously expensive. Love it. But it does look nice. I mean, it looks nice. There's
luxury.
a
It's luxurious.
smaller market for this sort of device, but there is a market. There are people out there that are happy to spend more for the foldable that stands out, I suppose.
You know, the other thing, by the way, before we move on, that they do on TikTok is I found somebody, he takes apart leather luxury purses and tells you how much leather, like how much money of leather and the quality is actually in the purse and whether you've like overpaid. So
and
this
you probably
reminds me
always
of
have
that.
overpaid, right?
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, a Prada bag is not made of the finest leather. Like,
Right.
yeah. But this is what this Samsung phone reminds me of.
Yeah. Well, it is pretty. It's pretty. Just look at it. I bet that ceramic back feels so nice. Looks so nice. And then Ron, you've got the last one here, which goes in a completely opposite direction.
I do, yeah. So we're starting to hear rumblings of the Pixel 7a, and of course, when you hear those rumblings, what follows are leaks. So we've gotten some leaks of the design, which anticlimactic because it looks like the Pixel 7, which is what anybody and we all expected.
Yeah, that's exactly what they go for.
It's got a flat display, matte band, 2 camera lenses. It's gonna have white and dark gray color options. So there you go. That's there's your Pixel 7a leak.
Oh my goodness, look at it. It looks like a Pixel 7.
Wow.
They could have given us the Pixel 7a with the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles band. That would have, that
would have been cool. I would have liked. I will admit, a crazy color combination would have been very cool, like a red with a gold band, or like something like that. That gives it a little more like, hey, notice me, instead of I'm blending
Luxury.
into the wall.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Not just luxury, but just more personality.
Personality. Yeah.
Yep.
These things don't have a whole lot of personality. They're pretty bland colors, really. But
Well, personality, you can charge it. You don't have to charge as much for personality. You could make money off of it.
Well, because the battery isn't that big.
Yeah. Oh.
Get it?
I guess your personality comes from the case that you put on it. Your Kate Spade case,
or lack of case in my case.
Or yeah, that's true. That's true. Well, there you go. Some fun hardware this week. All right, coming up, we've got some app news to report, 2/3 of which has something to do with the wearable that you may or may not already have on your wrist. That's coming up next. But first, this episode of All About Android is brought to you by Rocket Money. This is all about subscriptions, right? Do you even know if you're wasting money on subscriptions? That's the thing. So many times we have these subscriptions, we don't even know that we have some of them. They came on, into our account. They've been drawing every month. Leo was talking about this. He went through his statement with Rocket Money and found that there was a donation that he made, I think, to a political donation he made a couple of years ago, and over time, it's like on a recurring donation thing. Anyways, you don't want to be one of those people. 80% of people have subscriptions that they forgot about. So you don't want to be one of those people, but you know what? Chances are you are. Chances are I am. Maybe for you, it's an unused Amazon Prime account. Maybe it's a Hulu account that never gets streamed. Well, there's this awesome app that I've already mentioned the name of, Rocket Money. And it's going to help you track all of your expenses, and you aren't going to waste your money on subscriptions that you don't even use. That's the point right there. I don't want to waste money on subscriptions I'm not using. That's why Rocket Money is so awesome. It's formerly known as Truebill. So maybe you've heard of Truebill. Now it's Rocket Money. Do you know how much your subscriptions really cost? Most Americans think they spend around $80 a month on subscriptions when the actual total is closer to $200 or even more than that. So you could be wasting hundreds of dollars every month on subscriptions that you don't even know about. They're just kind of hidden in there, happening behind the scenes. The Rocket Money app actually shows all your subscriptions in one place. And then it can cancel the subscriptions that you don't want anymore. So it gives you assistance in canceling, because sometimes that can be a chore. That can be a feat, not just a chore. That can be a real struggle. Rocket Money can even find subscriptions you didn't know you were paying for. You may even find out you've been double charged for a subscription. So you can cancel subscription. All you have to do is press cancel. And it's really that easy. Rocket Money takes care of the rest. It's awesome. Rocket Money is really cool because it's saving you money. And at the end of the day, especially right now, man, things have really shifted. So any way that you can analyze what you've got going out and make tweaks. And it doesn't mean that you have to get rid of something, entirely. Sometimes it's just being aware of it and going, okay, well, you know what? I'm really not watching the things on Netflix as much as I was. So maybe I put a pause on that, or I cancel that and come back to it later. Of course, those streaming services, they hate that. But that's just kind of the way it is right now. And Rocket Money empowers you to do that easier. So check out Rocket Money, formerly known as Truebill. You're going to love it. Get rid of useless subscriptions with Rocket Money now. Go to rocketmoney.com/Android. And I'm serious. If you could save hundreds per year, you'd do it, right? Well, that's rocketmoney.com/Android. Check it out for yourself, and you might very well save hundreds per year. Cancel your unnecessary subscriptions right now at rocketmoney.com/Android. And we thank Rocket Money for their support of All About Android. All right, it's time to get into some app news. Let's do it.
All right, so, excuse me, Flo, I don't think we've spoken since I returned my Pixel Watch.
He had it and he returned it.
I returned it in the 2-week window, and I was not for me. And little things about the Pixel Watch and Wear OS keep reinforcing this decision. For example, I didn't even have the watch long enough to realize that two of the biggest apps from Google are non-existent on Wear OS. Gmail and calendar apps are currently in testing for Wear OS 3, so they're coming soon. But I didn't even realize that they weren't on the dang phone. Sources are saying they will be full featured apps, which is funny. But it still begs the question, how are these not already on Wear OS? It's Gmail, for Christ's sakes. Oh my gosh. Or your calendar for events and things like that. The
calendar makes a lot of sense for me to have on my wearable, because so much of a watch, right? Just a watch at its core is about keeping time, and calendar seems to fit in that in a wider sense. Gmail, aside from notifications and voice entry replies, which you could do without a Gmail app, I doubt I'm going to use my wearable to punch in an email. It's going to be all voice entry.
I wouldn't punch in an email, but I would read an email.
Yeah, I guess as I'm thinking about it right now, I couldn't do that before? That's so interesting.
Right.
But maybe I couldn't. I don't know. Are you still wearing the Pixel Watch, Flo? Do you have it? No.
No, I'm still wearing the Galaxy Watch 4.
Are you able to read email on your Galaxy Watch and stuff?
Well, I don't read email on here because I
who wants to read an email?
Email
watch,
notifications.
but,
I cut them off, but I do everything else on it.
Yeah.
I even I put this cute Hello Kitty watch face. Man.
See, I would not. I would turn notifications off. I turn notifications off on my device, the same way. I don't want the interruption. I don't want that sort of thing. But in the same way that I use my phone as a triage device, I would have, I would have used the watch as a triage device to be like, oh wow, that's an email I need to go to my computer and go deal with, But not so much. So.
Yeah, so interesting.
Yeah, Flo. Basically, the straw that broke the camel's back was just the podcast app that comes with it was just garbage, and the fact that there's no Google Podcast or no Pocket Casts was a deal breaker for me. So I said I had it.
I don't have that on my Samsung watch, but I have Peloton.
Cool.
There you go.
Okay.
Good enough.
Yeah.
Ask me what's on my Peloton in the garage right now.
What's on your Peloton in the garage? What, like
A lot of clothes.
I was gonna say clothes.
drying.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So you got a Peloton app on your watch. You just don't need to.
I do. Yes. I
You just have no need for it.
no. Well, theoretically, I should.
Theoretically, you do. Yes. All right. Well, we've got related news to this, and it's yours, Flo.
Oh, that's right. We do have related news. This is not okay. If you are on an older watch, if you are on Wear OS 2, I think it's time that you start thinking about upgrading, because it's very clear that the path for you is not going forward. It is eventually going to reach the end. Google Maps and Google Keep are apparently no longer available for those on Wear OS 2, which is a bummer, because those are the apps that you want on a watch. You know, you want to be able to bring up the grocery list, and you want to be able to have walking directions to figure out where the bodega is so you can get your morning after bagel. Right. Now, it seems that while Google is updating the apps for Wear OS 3, it's just completely dropped support for those on older versions of Wear OS. And any Wear OS 2 devices with these apps already installed will still have access to the apps, but they will not be able to reinstall them or find them in the Play Store going forward, which is a bummer. There are other apps from Google still available, though. There's Gboard, there's Google Fit, there's Wallet, there's Messages, there's YouTube Music. I know how much you love YouTube Music.
Yeah.
So, maybe those are things that you still hold on to. But really, I think it's time that you get a new Android smartwatch.
But I don't know. This thing bugs me. This one kind of bugs me.
I know.
This idea that, okay, we've got this new version. There's 2 devices running it right now. I don't know how many devices are on Wear 3, but not very many.
There has to be a technical limitation here,
There
or there's
must
got to be
be.
something they did to Wear OS 3 that only works on the new processors or something.
Right.
This is what I'm trying to
Yeah, because Wear OS 3 was a really big transition from Wear OS 2. It's just like
nobody talked about Wear OS 2.
I'm looking on Wikipedia at the list of Wear OS devices, and I sorted, and I mean, the number of Wear OS 2 watches is insane. Like, there's so many in here, and so
they've been around for so long.
They've been around for so long. So
yeah.
I mean, on one hand, I guess I kind of get it. It's at a certain point you have to deprecate things. But it's hard to think that now is the time to deprecate Wear OS 2 watches, because Wear OS 3 just came out. Like, I don't know. It just seems it must be a technical limitation. You're right, Flo. That has to be the explanation.
Wait a second, though. Google Keep is a friggin' list and that syncs. That's all it does. Like, how could
It's
anything
very
hard as
hardware
that?
intensive, Burke. Those lists.
They're really big lists.
They're really big lists.
Of course, we're joking, but I think we're joking. Yeah.
I mean, I agree with Burke. I'm just,
Yeah. I mean, maybe Maps is a little bit. Maybe Maps I understand a little bit
Maps
more,
is
but
one
even
thing,
then,
yeah. Maps I could think that could be a hardware limitation.
Yeah.
Not that you would really want it on your phone. I mean, on your watch to begin with.
But I actually kind of do understand a map on the watch. Like navigation. I don't know. I guess I'm thinking back to when I used Google Glass and navigated with Google Glass.
Absolutely.
For navigation. And then I remember about the same time, I can't remember if it was before or after, the wearable happened, the watches started to come out. And it was kind of like, okay, so they're kind of one and the same in my mind. It's kind of like, okay, I could see, driving and wanting to have that navigation synced to my watch. So it tells me, oh, turn left here, turn right here, or whatever. So I don't know. It just kind of rubs me the wrong way that this happened. And are they going to do this with all their other apps? And if so, wow.
I agree with you, because they were offering these old watches at a discount everywhere.
Yeah.
And it's crappy.
Now a lot of people have them. Are they still wearing them?
Yeah.
I don't know. A lot of people have them. Whether they're wearing them or
Probably not.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, well.
Yeah.
And Ron's like, I don't care. I got rid of my Pixel Watch.
I know.
Whatever.
Right?
Ship sailed, man. Google Maps. Come on.
I tried and it failed me. So peace out.
You know what, Ron? You're not alone, though. Andy, who co-hosts the Material podcast with me on the Relay FM network, he's also kind of feeling similarly about
just not fully baked. Not fully baked. That's the issue. The watch was neat. It was nice. Battery died like that. But I could have done
with
stuff
soft
to,
crust.
I could have, I could have done stuff to make the battery life last longer, but ultimately, just not for me. It's okay. We'll get them next time.
It's not your job. It's not your job.
I will say, our next story, Jason, this happened to me, and I spent like 5 minutes dealing with the fact that it happened.
Oh, okay. Well,
Because I didn't believe it was happening. So.
what is the story behind Ron's trauma? Well, it is Google Messages full emoji reactions.
Yep.
Rolling out to some users. So don't misunderstand what I'm saying here. Google Messages emoji reactions has rolled out to a lot of people. I still don't have it on my Messages app. So it seems like everybody has it but me at this point. This is different. This is a test of allowing people to react with the whole suite of emoji, not just the 6 or 7 that they give you, the standard 7 reactions.
The thumbs up.
Yeah, exactly. This is like every emoji. Like if you want to, add a poop emoji to that message, go for it, and it will attach that as a reaction. Definitely still just a test. I don't know if this is going to roll out widely. I have to imagine there's some compatibility issues to solve around if, it's a whole set of emoji and how that syncs up between devices. I don't know. It seems like that would be complicated to some degree. But
No.
What?
So
No.
do you see?
What,
do you see
all you're
at
gonna
the,
get?
Do you see at the edge of the that row of emojis?
Yeah.
There's the one on the far right is the
Back it up,
smiley
Ron.
face with the plus.
It's not in focus.
Yes.
If I
I
tap
can see
that,
I can see it.
if I tap that, it gives me every emoji to choose from.
Sure. Okay. So when you
And it blew my mind.
That's awesome. I'm just wondering about, like, every phone has different, some phones have different emoji sets than others.
No, the standard Flo, this. Back me up here. The standard emoji set is defined.
It is.
Like
Yes, and also, so the thing is, Jason, if you send an emoji to somebody who does not have the capability on their end, let's say they're on iOS or let's say they're on a different version of Android, then you're going to get what we used to get from iMessage people, which is you'll get a reaction to and then quote the whole message.
Got
so it'll
it.
be a little
Okay.
annoying, but the idea was implemented, I believe, to smack iOS users just a tiny bit, and B, just to make it backwards compatible. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. That makes sense.
Yeah, but the thing is that the emojis that you choose from are the same on iOS or whatever, because it's the standard set of emojis that you can choose from that are defined by the Unicode emoji library, shared library.
Yeah. I guess where I was headed though is that some earlier versions of Android had different emoji sets, right? Like
Samsung.
They look different. It was the same emojis though.
Well, but every new version of Android seems to bring with it a new updated emoji Unicode set, and not all devices have that updated set, right? They're not all completely
because
synced over.
the emoji are actually updated through the Google keyboard app, the Gboard app.
Oh, okay. So then Google's managing it. So then if you're using that, then everybody's on the same page.
Yeah.
Okay.
Google's made it.
There we go. All right.
Kind of
that was my
easier
confusion
on the back end.
Yep.
Okay, cool. Neat. Well, then why not? Why not have the whole assortment of emoji to reply with or to
I use
on?
prayer hands all the time.
And now
prayer
you can.
hands.
Well, if you're in on this test. You probably can't right now, but Ron.
No, I
obviously
used
can.
it with my best friend who's on an iPhone the other day.
So you've got you're part of this test.
Yeah,
For the
I got
full,
it already.
Oh, okay.
I
The
am
article
too.
I read made it seem like it was a very limited test. So that's
Well,
awesome.
no, it's really just every Google Messages user, unless you're Jason Howell.
Yeah, apparently.
That's
I don't
the
even
real-
have.
That's what it
You're
says.
the control group, Jason. You're the control group.
Yes.
Correct.
How does the control group feel about this? Very left out. That's how the control group feels about this.
They're going to write an article about the emotional damage it's doing to you.
Yes. And that article is gonna be filled with nothing but emoji, like sad emoji. So, anyways, all right.
Oh, that's funny. That's very funny.
Sob emoji, sob.
Yeah, so.
Sad. All right. Well, luckily, as my voice continues to fail, thankfully, our good friend JR Raphael's here with an awesome tip about clipboard syncing. So, JR, take it away.
Hey, good to see everyone. So I don't know about you, but I am constantly going back and forth between my phone and a computer. Sometimes it's my Windows desktop here in the esteemed Android Intelligence International headquarters. And sometimes it's a Chromebook out and about in the world or even just around my own house in the evening. And while Google's got a really great, super simple cross-device file sharing feature called Nearby Share, you can only use it on Android devices and Chromebooks. It's pretty limiting. We've been hearing about an expansion that bring that system to Windows for a while now, but so far we haven't seen any actual signs of that becoming available. And if you're using a Mac or a Linux desktop, well, you're just completely out of luck. Or so it'd seem. Today we're going to get into some simple steps for smarter sharing between your Android phone and whatever kind of computer you're using. We'll start with the simplest part of all, text. I mean, seriously, how awesome would it be if you could just copy something on your phone and then go paste it onto your computer a second later, or vice versa for that matter? Google had a way to do that for a while. It was tucked away as an off-by-default experiment in Chrome, but at some point, the company stopped working on it and the option just disappeared. You've got a couple really great options for making that same sort of thing happen now, though. And once you get them set up, well, they couldn't be much easier to use. So up first, if you're using Windows on the computer front and you don't mind ditching Gboard on Android, the simplest option of all is to rely on the Microsoft SwiftKey keyboard on your phone. It's got an option deep within its settings that'll let you sync your phone's clipboard directly to Windows. Once you activate that, all you've got to do is go into the System section of your Windows settings, find the clipboard area there to flip on two connected options on that side. Now, if you aren't using Windows, or you'd rather just not use SwiftKey, there is another really, really good alternative for you. It's an app called Clipped. Not the easiest name to say. But install that thing on your phone, then install the companion Chrome extension on whatever computer you're using, and any text you copy on your computer will just automatically appear in your phone's clipboard and be ready to paste wherever you want. On the Android front, you'll have one extra step. After you copy something, you've got to tap on a persistent notification or a special quick settings tile, and that'll send any text you copy into the synced clipboard. And once you do that, it'll just be there on your computer and waiting. All that's left is to hit Control-V to paste it anywhere you want. Pretty handy stuff, and in terms of privacy, Clipped is actually created by the same company behind OnePlus. So a pretty known, pretty well-trusted developer. The app doesn't see or store any of your data or anything like that. It relies on your own personal Google Drive storage to securely sync all of your stuff. It's free to use too, and man, believe me, it'll make your life a heck of a lot easier. We'll pick up here next week and talk about an insanely simple way to share files between your phone and any computer you're using without having to rely on that Nearby Share system. And hey, remember, you can get all sorts of advanced Android info like this in your inbox with my Android Intelligence newsletter. You'll get 3 new things to try every week. It's completely free for you. Just head over to androidintel.net/twit to get your first issue and get a few custom bonus tips while you're at it. That site again is androidintel.net/twit. I'll see you there, and I'll see you right back here next week.
JR just keeps bringing the awesome. That's a
Very cool.
great app.
I've never heard of Clip. That's very cool.
Maybe we've talked about it at some point. Maybe
echoes of Push Bullet.
Yeah.
For sure.
Oh, Push Bullet.
Yep.
Oh.
If there's an app Hall of Fame, Push Bullet should be in it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yep.
Haven't used it in a very long time.
Neither have I, but it always, every now and then it nags me to log into my new phone when it installs the app and I just don't use it. But so.
I mean, Push Bullet Hall of Fame, not necessarily because it's still an app that I use, but there was a certain time where I used it all the time, and it really was revolutionary.
It really changed the game at the moment it came out in terms of what you could do between computer to phone kind of interaction, and other apps followed, clearly Clipped, inspired by it. Yeah. But yeah, definitely it for what it did at the time, that's what gets it into the Hall of Fame.
Yeah. Good stuff, JR. Thank you for always bringing it. And sounds like there's another part of this coming next week, so stay tuned for that. Up next, we've got some of your feedback, so we're going to get to that in a moment. But first, let's take a few minutes to thank the sponsor of this episode of All About Android, and that is Secureworks. Secureworks is a leader in cybersecurity. They're building solutions for security experts by security experts. Secureworks actually offers superior threat detection and rapid incident response, all while making sure that customers are never locked into a single vendor. Secureworks offers an open, extended detection and response platform. They call it Taegis XDR. Get it? Extended detection and response. And now is the time to get it. Why, you might ask? Well, just a few numbers here for you. In 2022, cybercrime will cost the world $7 trillion, but by 2025, that's just a few years later, that figure is going to grow to $10.5 trillion. In 2021, ransomware totaled $20 billion in damages. Attacks occurred every 11 seconds. But flash forward 10 years to 2031, ransomware is projected to cost $265 billion per year and strike every 2 seconds. How are you going to even keep up with that? How do we keep up with that? Well, you want to make sure your organization is not the next victim with Secureworks Taegis XDR. Secureworks Taegis provides superior detection. It identifies more than 470 billion security events per day. They're prioritizing the true positive alerts, eliminating that alert noise, and allowing organizations to focus on the real threat. And in addition to all that, Taegis offers unmatched response with automated response actions to eliminate threats before damage is ever even done. With Secureworks Taegis Managed XDR, you can easily leverage Secureworks experts to investigate and respond to threats on your behalf, so you can actually cut dwell times, you can decrease operational burden, and reduce cost. And they've got 24/7, 365 days a year coverage. So whether you're experiencing a security event on Christmas Day, that's just right around the corner, let's hope that doesn't happen, or half your team is out sick, you can trust that Secureworks is behind you. Many companies, as you know, are facing a shortage of talent, and specifically security talent. Secureworks acts as an extension of your security team on day one. That alleviates cybersecurity talent gaps, and it also allows you to customize the approach and the coverage level that you need. And what actually happens if you have already found an intruder in your system? Well, there's no need to worry about that. I want you to write down this number. It's 1-800-BREACHED. 1-800-BREACHED. That number is going to connect you with the Secureworks Emergency Incident Response Team, and then they can provide you with immediate assistance 24/7 in responding to and then remediating a possible cyber incident or data breach. At Secureworks, you can learn more about the ways today's threat environment is evolving and the risks it can present to your organization, including case studies. There's reports from their counter threat unit, and so much more. You want to check it out. Visit secureworks.com/twit. You'll get a free trial of Taegis XDR when you go there. That's secureworks.com/twit. Secureworks, defending every corner of cyberspace. We thank Secureworks for their support of All About Android. Continued support. It's so great to have them on board. All right, feedback time. I will go ahead and start it off. AAA at twit.tv, 347-SHOW-AAA. If you want to be part of this feedback block, you can send us your feedback and you may get chosen, because we often, usually, and I can't think of a time in the past I don't know, a couple of years where we haven't gotten more emails than the 3 blocks that we have here. So send them in, cross your fingers, and maybe you'll get read like Will. Will in, quote, now it's cold at Tigard, Oregon. There you go. Never heard of Tigard before. Will says, I was just listening, actually still listening to the episode, last week's episode, and you guys were talking about Alexa, Amazon's voice assistant, possibly going away, and I just went, no, in my head. I have both Google Home and Alexa, dang it, I did it, Alexa products, although my Google Homes stay off due to my frustration with them. We use Amazon's voice assistant all over the house because they have more wake words. You know, the Alexa, of course, Amazon, a few others that I'm not going to say because I might trigger them. We use all of them. They still have location-based routines to turn things on when we get home. Google got rid of them. In my opinion, Amazon's is just better than Google's offering when it comes to smart home stuff because they do what you ask and don't try to guess. I asked a Google Home to turn on dark mode, thinking it would put my phone in dark mode or tell me it can't do that yet, but instead it turned all the lights in my house off. Well, I mean, okay, this is just me speaking real quick.
That's dark mode.
I mean, that's dark mode. It's just not the dark mode that you were hoping for. Honestly, I think that's pretty hilarious.
Sorry.
Yeah. Sorry if that was inconvenient, but I don't know. I give Google a point for that one. Yes, Amazon's kind of sucks at answering questions, but we still have our phones for asking Google things other than how old is random celebrity. We ask that a lot for some reason. I really hope Amazon does not get rid of the Echo, but I guess the good times had to stop sometime. What a waste if they really do that, though. Thank you for reading. So there you go. Yeah, I don't know if they're going to get rid of them. I guess that's the big question, right? Okay, so they're losing a lot of money on these things. And actually, Jassy, who's now CEO, from my understanding, cares a lot less about this stuff than Bezos did before him. So maybe they will get rid of it. But I just kind of always assumed they were a loss leader anyways. That's always been my assumption. So when I read this news, I was kind of like, yeah. Was it ever making gobs of money, of revenue? I just never thought that it was. So, but I hope for you, because you love this device, that it doesn't go away. So there you go.
All right. On to the next email. We'll see if I get through it.
It's
Donald
short.
writes in. Yes, it's short, thank God. So Donald writes in and says, in Google Podcasts, you can search for anything. For example, a host or guest by typing in search. Unfortunately, the results are based on an episode popularity, I believe, with no reverse chronological option. I'm sure Google could add this in some search operators too. I sent feedback to Google Podcasts on exactly this subject this morning, so I did a double take a couple hours later when I heard Jason evoke this on the Twit live audio stream. Thanks for a great show, Donald. And let me tell you, Donald, I feel like the people who make Google Podcasts don't actually use podcasts.
Could be.
That's my theory.
Could be.
So,
or they make their product and they don't actually use it, that sort of thing.
or that too. I mean, that's we're both saying the same thing there.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
So.
Because everyone listens to podcasts. There's no way that they don't listen to podcasts.
True. Yeah, they're listening to it. They're not listening to it on their own product,
podcasts.
though. Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Are they listening?
Man,
to
Google. Remember when Google Podcasts came out? We're like, this could be a moment in time that will change podcasting, right? Like, imagine the might of Google and search and what you can do behind it, and it just is yet another failure to launch on Google's part in terms of entering a space. So
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. When it came out, we were like, "Wow, this is this has
so
the
much
potential."
opportunity.
Taking the complicated nature of audio files that have a lot of information within them, but they're audio files and not inherently searchable. I mean, you can get to a point where you can extract that audio, and make it searchable. That's kind of what I thought Google was going to do with Google Podcasts, is really go granular and be like, in the same way that Google, goes out onto the web and scans the text of every website that it's allowed to touch, and all of that is searchable. what would be amazing is if podcasts had that granularity of search as well, so that if I'm looking for this answer to this certain thing, or did this person say this to that person, like I could search into the content of podcasts. That I think is like, and I don't think Google Podcasts does that. They keep making these steps of like, well, now you can search for a host that appears on a podcast. Like I just did Robert Zemeckis as a random name that just came to mind. And, it pulled back 3 options from different podcasts, one from this year, one from 2016, one from 2022. So, and there's a few more. So I guess there are more. So, so that's neat. But I don't know. It just seems like there's a lot of lost potential if we're not going into the episodes themselves. That's also probably a really complicated to do.
But if anybody can figure it out, it's Google. And it just
I
don't know.
Totally.
Yeah,
Totally.
Yep.
I totally agree. So, anyways, thank you, Donald, for writing in.
The things.
The things.
The things.
You know what I mean. The things.
The things. Well, we're going to end on a really great note because this week's email of the week, thank you, Burke, for that one, is on my roster now. So it's time for us to read the email of the week.
Flo's taking Flo's a little out of practice.
Sorry, I am. Forgive me. All right. So this one comes in from Bill Bowling. Bill writes, I have several Chromecast with Google TV /remotes. Did you know that storage can be expanded? Using an Amazon purchase for a USB-C hub, UTech Smart 6-in-1 USB-C to HDMI adapter with 1000M Ethernet, you can add, thank you, by the way, for that.
Love their titles on Amazon.
Okay, let me finish this and I'm going to go look for it. Using Amazon purchase for, et cetera, so you can add a USB storage dongle and add the ability to have a wired Ethernet connection. Google TV has options to store programs in the external storage and thereby allow you to add as many TV channels or other utility apps as you wish. So not so limited. Enjoy the freedom as I do. Hugs to you all at Twit. Well, thank you, Bill, for the hug.
Thank you for that.
That's a great tip.
Nice.
Yeah.
That is a great tip. I will say that Google does have, now if you go to store.google.com, you will type in Ethernet. I'm going to try and find this myself. And the Ethernet adapter for Chromecast to Google TV is $20. I'm gonna link Burke to this and let's see if he has a second to show everybody.
So you can add an Ethernet dongle to wire in instead of Wi-Fi. And that's the Google. I got you. That's what Google offers as far as expandability. Okay.
Yes, but that's it. It's just to connect it to Ethernet. I like Bill's suggestion because he looked up a adapter that could support Ethernet while also being able to support a hard drive or
expand the storage. Yeah, because we were talking last week about I can't remember what story it was related to, but just about how a lot of the Google TV devices always have limited storage. That storage is always, and it seems like the kind of device that should by default have more storage, not less. And so this is a way to get around that. And Amazon's having a sale on this particular one too. But I mean, these things, this type of device, this USB-C hub, I mean, you go on Amazon, you're going to find 50 million different manufacturers of this type of device. So, you could take your chance.
Has 1000M.
This has 1000M, so remember that. So probably any one of these is going to work well, but do your Amazon research.
And make sure that you are getting something that it can power up things because you will need something that can do that. The
100%.
Chromecast is not. Yeah, the Chromecast is not enough, for instance, to do like power delivery to a hard drive. So I would assume the USB.
Oh, that's a really good point.
The better way to do that.
Really great point, because I had started to go down the road of looking at, what if you don't want to bring in your Ethernet and all you want is a micro SD card slot? What about getting like a USB-C to micro SD converter, but that doesn't have the power. And you're probably exactly right on that. I didn't even think about that. You probably need the power going in there to power the drive. So,
it's
interesting.
It's hard. The other thing is, while I really do love Bill's suggestion, it really depends on your TV setup, because the last thing you want people to see is just like a cluster.
Yeah, that's true.
Like a Katamari version of the Chromecast is just like rolled into all these different adapters. And it's just,
Yeah, that could get a little ugly. So hopefully it's all tucked away behind the TV and you don't have to look at it.
Yeah. But I do appreciate Bill. Thank you. And very well deserved. Email of the week.
Email of the week. Thank you for sharing your knowledge. AAA@twit.tv, and you could share your knowledge with us and everyone else that watches and listens as well. All right, it's the end of this episode. Ron needs to go to bed. Ron needs to drink some tea and go to bed after he takes out the trash. So
it is trash
But
night.
I will say, if you want to listen to me when I had my voice, head over to ifanboy.com. We put out an episode recently where we did our year-end answering emails episode and talking about movies and TV and fun stuff over there. So check out ifanboy.com. I gave Burke the link, but he doesn't want to show it to the video viewers, so that's fine. So
Burke's done. He's like, I'm not pushing a single button more.
Yeah.
Jeez.
There it is.
There it is.
Media Explode number 31, year-end mailbag.
Yep.
Mailbag.
Fun times.
Right on, Ron. Well, I hope you continue to feel better and that your voice comes back.
So do I. I feel fine. I just
than ever.
sound awful. So yeah. Talk too much. That's the problem.
Yes, you do talk too much. You know who else talks too much? No, I'm just kidding. Flo.
Me.
It's great getting you on. It's great having you back. What do you want people to know?
Well, as always, if you want to read my work, you can go to my vanity link, flowrights.tech, and that'll take you to my page over at Gizmodo, where you can read all of everything that I've written for Gizmodo. You can also listen to me weekly on the Material Podcast, which I record with Andy Anatko over on the Relay FM network. So do check that out. If you have an inkling, we talk about Google on that podcast.
Even if you don't have an inkling, even if you don't even know what an inkling is, just check it out. Thank us later.
Yes.
Yeah. And then,
We're friends in your ears.
Then go on to a web browser and type in inkling definition, and you'll see what it says.
Correct. Or you could ask Google.
That's true. You could. Hey, gee, what does inkling mean? And I bet you'd get an answer. Big thanks to J.R. Raphael, Android Intelligence, for always sending us these wonderful how-tos, these app reviews and insights and stuff. I love that we have the chance and the ability to do that. So thank you, J.R. Appreciate it. Thanks to Burke here in the studio for pushing the buttons and not stepping on his dog, who I know is at the foot of the TriCaster right now.
I did step on her this morning at home, though.
It happens. Sometimes it happens with dogs. It's just the way it goes. And then big thanks to Victor behind the scenes for editing the show, making it all published and everything so that you get it in your podcast feed. You can find me at Jason Howell on Twitter. You can find, I don't have my Mastodon thing, but I have been doing Mastodon more. So, go to my, here's what you do.
Oh, yeah.
Here's what you do. Go to my Twitter profile at Jason Howell and then read my profile. And there you will find my link for my Mastodon ID.
Correct.
So, there's ways if you want to find me on Mastodon.
Circle of life, Jason.
Yeah, it's the circle of social network life. Don't forget Club Twit, twit.tv/Club Twit is awesome. It's a great way to support what we do. Because things are getting a little tight with advertising and everything going into the next year. We could really stand to benefit from a heck of a lot more people signing up for Club Twit, empowering us to do what we do, because we love doing what we do. And when you are subscribing to Club Twit, you're helping us directly do that. So we've got ad-free shows. We've got exclusive Twit Plus podcast content. We've got the members-only Discord. So many things. $84 a year, or you can pay $7 a month. See, you've got options. Twit.tv/Twit. Club Twit. As for this show, we do this every week, every Tuesday evening. Twit.tv/AAA is where you can go to subscribe. That's really the main thing you want to do. Subscribe to it. It will appear for you like magic after Victor has done all of his magic, and you won't have to think about it. So thank you so much for watching and listening. We can't do this show without you, and we will see you next time on All About Android. Bye, everybody.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? I am Ant Pruitt, and I am the host of Hands-On Photography here on Twit TV. I know you got yourself a fancy smartphone, you got yourself a fancy camera, but your pictures are still lacking. Can't quite figure out what the heck shutter speed means? Watch my show. I got you covered. Want to know more about just the ISO and exposure triangle in general? Yeah, I got you covered. Or if you got all of that down, you want to get into lighting, making things look better by changing the lights around you. I got you covered on that too. So check us out each and every Thursday here on the network. Go to twit.tv/hop and subscribe today.